Hi, I'm Allie Reddy, former national fitness trainer turned wellness and fitness activist. This is the podcast for anyone who desires to come out from beneath their struggles with food and body, exercise, and self-doubt. Join me each week for inspiring interviews and heartfelt topics so you too can choose progress over perfection. Listening to the Progress Over Perfection podcast, episode number 42, and I am Allie Reddy, your host. And you guys, today I want to talk all about 5 tips to helping you get back on track after vacation. So as many of you know, if you listen to the latest episode number 41, all about our travels to California, then you know good and well that we definitely ate our way through that trip, and through conversation with some friends after getting back. And while I was there, I thought, this would be a really great podcast topic to discuss, because this is something that every single time I'm on vacation and I come home from vacation, I experience. And so I want to share my open and honest feelings about what I go through, because 99% chance that you too feel these things. Maybe you think that, people who are like super fit and have it all together don't experience this stuff. And it's just not true, because we're all human. So today I want to kind of share what happens and what I'm kind of feeling after a vacation. And, it really depends on where I'm going. For example, if we have been in Europe, we are walking so much, we're getting so much exercise that usually I feel pretty great, because we honestly couldn't even eat enough just with how much exercise we're doing. But typically that isn't always the case. I definitely still exercise. I try to move my body every single day when we're away, whether that's in the gym or, walking on the beach, whatever that looks like. But what I want to talk about is just how I feel after vacation when it comes to food, especially with this recent one. I felt pretty terrible actually coming home. And I thought we did a pretty darn good job. I think we all go into vacation mode with really great expectations. Like, I'm going to, continue to eat pretty much my normal and, eat a healthy breakfast and whatnot. But the inevitable part is we are just going to eat things that we don't normally at home, because we're eating out more, portion sizes are bigger. So I definitely experienced this quite a bit as we were away, and want to talk about that today. So a lot of times people will ask me, well, should I do a detox after a vacation? And to be really frank, I think it depends on what your definition of a detox is. If a detox for you means not actually eating any food, but, only drinking juice for, 7 to 10 days, then in my personal opinion, I don't recommend something like that. They're incredibly expensive. And truth be told, the only type of detox that you really need is a natural one, which is all the things we're going to talk about today under my 5 tips for getting back on track after vacation. So if that is your preferred method, you like to buy the expensive juices, you like to go that route, you do you, but I'm going to share today just what tends to work for me, and feel free to take and leave whatever you'd like. So as I mentioned, we ate out for most of our meals. We definitely went to the grocery store. We stocked our fridge with a good amount of stuff, but at the end of the day, lunches and dinners were quite a bit heavier and much bigger portions than we normally eat at home. So at home, one of my great hacks for meals is that we barely use big plates. So we always use kind of those smaller plates. I'm really terrible with dimensions. So, but I'm sure like when you grew up, you had those big dinner plates. We typically use the smaller plates, and that just helps me because, we're all creatures of habit, and so we'll tend to kind of fill up a plate. And so if I have a big plate, well, that's what I'm going to do. So typically use a smaller plate, and that helps me. But that said, when we're on vacation, it's a lot more food. It's really exciting. And sometimes I don't even realize I'm doing it, but I can get pretty overly full, which is not necessarily the most fun feeling in the world. And we're also eating a lot more sweets than we normally do. I mean, we're not eating dessert necessarily every day, but a lot of times the hotels will like leave chocolates in the room every day. We definitely will, have a dessert here and there. And so a lot of the sugars are things that we're not used to having on a daily basis. And so we're all human. Like, I was craving sugar like a mad woman basically every day after the moment that it was reintroduced. And I wanted it more and more and more, which is one reason why in my daily life I try to stay away from a lot of the processed sugars, because that's what happens is I crave it like crazy. So what I want to share with you today are the 5 things that I did coming home, to really kind of, get me feeling back on track. And when I say on track, that I don't believe that there is a wagon. I don't believe that we, you can't fall off of a wagon if there isn't one in the first place. But I'll be honest that we definitely have fun when we're on vacation. And I know that a lot of us come home feeling like, okay, I just want to get back to my normal. I want to eat the things that make me feel good. And I want to feel like I did before I left on vacation. So the number one thing that I start doing immediately when I get home is drinking water. So that's tip number 1, because from the flying and the travel, you can get swollen and puffy, and so the water is definitely going to help that. So I will pound the water. If you are someone who needs something in your water, you could put a little lemon or lime in there. That would help big time. But I definitely drink a ton of water, and that usually within a few days helps me to feel so much better, pretty instantaneously. So that's really nice. The other thing that I recommend is drinking teas. And this really helps with helping to curb a lot of the sugar cravings, because when you come back, chances are you're still craving a lot of the things that you had on vacation. So one of the teas that I really like to help curb cravings is the dandelion tea, which is great for digestion, and it also really, really helps with bloating and excess water retention, which tends to happen when we travel. So that's one of my favorites. There's lots of different teas that you can drink out there. Pick your favorite one. I think teas are really helpful, especially in those first few days of transition when you kind of want something sweet, because you've been used to having a little something every day on vacation, but you want to abstain from, you're trying to break that sugar cycle. So that can be really, really helpful. As I mentioned earlier, I'm not necessarily a huge proponent for the juice cleanses and detoxes, because I believe that by going back to eating unprocessed whole foods, that's all that you need. And it's one of those mind battles that we just kind of have to fight. And I wanted to mention this really candidly, that the first few days can feel really, really rough. You are literally coming off of, I don't want to say a drug, that makes it sound overly exaggerated, but it's tough when you're trying to sort of stop a habit and break a cycle. So the first few days can be really, really rough. And mentally, you have to just remind yourself, in 2 or 3 days, I'm going to feel light years better. And I know that's always true, but it was definitely a mind game that came up for me this time coming back from vacation. And so every single day I would just remind myself, okay, drink your water, eat your healthy foods, get your exercise, and you are going to feel better in no time. And that's definitely what happened. So that brings me to tip number 2, which is eat healthy foods. Make sure that you prepare what you are going to have for the week. You don't have to prepare it all at once, but know what food choices you're going to make for that week. So, what proteins are you going to have? What vegetables are you going to bring in? I tend to err a little heavier on the side of vegetables, just because when we're away, I try to eat a salad every day, but usually I'm getting a lot less vegetables than normal. So that's something that really helps me to just start to feel better right away. So know what you're going to eat, and also look up some fun recipes. I think that's really helpful, because you've been eating a lot of really fun foods while you're on vacation. So if you look up some great recipes and keep things interesting, well, number 1, that's going to help you kind of in this whole break the cycle process. And number 2 is just going to keep you excited. And I think that helps me coming back from vacation just feel better, and it feels less abrupt, I guess I would say. So tip number 3 is get your movement on, go back to moving your body. And if you are someone that tends to kind of let that go by the wayside, then it might be best for you to schedule, like, when is that going to happen? And this is something I believe I've talked about in early episodes when I first started the podcast, but I am a strong proponent for, if you are a busy individual who, works a 9 to 5, or you've got a really long schedule, you've got to commute, then scheduling your workout is going to be one of the most crucial components. Because I always tell people, if you had a meeting with someone, you wouldn't just, get to that hour and say, oh, I'm going to just cancel that meeting. Like, you would go because you committed, and your workout, I believe, should be the same. Because if we try to rely on motivation, it's just never going to be enough. And I've got an episode coming up that I'm really excited about, where I'm going to really talk all about motivation and what's really at the heart of that, and what does that even mean, and why do so many of us not feel motivated and then in turn not achieve the things that we want to achieve. So we'll go deeper into that here in a few weeks. But that said, maybe you need to schedule your workout. Maybe you want to look up something new to try, or maybe you just want to go back to what works for you, what makes you feel great. And that's awesome. But make sure that that is a component, especially within that first week of being back, because that also is going to help you to really feel better, mentally, emotionally, but also physically as well. Tip number 4 is get plenty of sleep. So hopefully on vacation you were sleeping like a baby, stress was minimal, if not non-existent, and so you were getting great rest. When you come back, that's something that you definitely want to continue, because remember that sleep is actually one of the biggest components when it comes to weight loss and achieving our goals and the results that we want. So if we're not resting and we're not allowing our body to recover, then we actually are holding ourselves back from getting to where we want to be. So I just always want to insert that and remind you of what a crucial component that is. Maybe you're someone who hasn't even been on vacation, but you're sitting here listening going, Allie, that's interesting, because I really want to achieve X, but it's just not happening for me. I've worked with clients over the years who have come to me and they've been doing everything right to a T. And then when we talk about how much sleep they're getting and they tell me that they're sleeping 4 to 5 hours a night, that is a huge red flag for me that, okay, that's the missing link. You can be doing all the things right, but if your sleep component isn't there, I really want to drive this home. I would honestly say that is more important than you getting up for a 4 a.m. workout. So if it's going to be the difference of, you having 4 workouts instead of 5 that week and you getting an extra hour or 2 of sleep, I would definitely recommend the sleep, because in the end, that's going to help you get to where you want to go. All right, so tip number 5, we're going to keep this really short and sweet today, is don't beat yourself up. You had a great vacation. Hopefully you really enjoyed yourself, but don't beat yourself up. Most of us feel this way when we come home. There's definitely that transitional period. So don't be so hard on yourself. And remember, you've got to keep that positive energy and that positive thought process going of, okay, this is temporary. This isn't long term. It's not going to last forever. And I don't know about you, but come about day 3 or 4, I'm sitting there going, okay, I don't know why I was so hard on myself. I feel great again. I feel normal. So I just want to remind you of that. If you're someone that tends to be really hard on yourself, please don't be. Try to just get back to your normal and life will be great again. I wanted to include 4 bonus tips that I use while I'm on vacation to help me feel my best. And those are eating a healthy breakfast, no matter where you are. I find that if I really set the tone for the day, I eat a hearty breakfast, and I don't get hungry until lunch, that really helps me set the tone for the day. When I don't eat a good breakfast and I'm kind of just snacking and I'm constantly feeling hungry, to me, that's when I tend to overeat. So my biggest tip here would be eat a healthy breakfast while you're away. Tip number 2 is, if you are a salad person, eat a salad a day. If you're not, then at least try to have a vegetable at every meal. or at least 2 of your meals. I think that really helps keep things light for at least one of the meals. It gets you a lot of veggies in. And if you are a salad person, there's lots of fun, different types of salads that you can have no matter where you travel. So that tends to help me feel my best. My third tip, and all, of course we talked about this in the post vacation, but definitely drinking lots of water. That's a huge one. If you can keep a water bottle with you, if you can stay hydrated, that will really help you while you're on vacation. And the last one is, somebody emailed me last week and says, how do you prepare for your vacations? Like, do you exercise? What do you do? So as I've already talked about on the podcast, yes, I exercise. Yes, I move my body. But I'm actually going to do an episode on, how I plan this out. And I'm going to give you tips on, number 1, how you can fit it into wherever you're going. And number 2, I'm going to actually give you stuff that you can do while you're on vacation that doesn't need equipment if you don't have any nearby, so that you can keep feeling your best, you can keep moving while you're on vacation. And hopefully those tips combined will help you just make the most of your trip. So let's just recap my top 5 tips for getting back on track after vacation. Number 1, pounding the water. Number 2, eating healthy, real, whole foods. Number 3 is getting your movement on, scheduling your workouts. Number 4 is getting plenty of sleep. And number 5 is to not beat yourself up. And I've got one extra bonus tip that I didn't mention earlier, and that is, when I'm trying to wean myself off of sugar, something that I will definitely strive to do is keep a lot of fruits in the house. So I'll keep apples, I'll keep bananas, I'll keep some berries. And when you find that you're craving sugar, I will have, an apple with some peanut butter, or, I'll put, some peanut butter and apple and a few raisins or something like that. So if you can keep some fruits in the house, maybe some unsweetened dried fruits, and have a few pieces of that, I find that that's also really helpful when you're weaning yourself off of sugar. It satisfies that craving, but it doesn't mean that you're giving in to the processed sugar that you might have been having on vacation. So I really hope that you found at least some of these tips helpful. Again, my goal is to really just always share some of the things that I'm experiencing, what I'm going through. And this was something that I felt really strongly that I wanted to share with you, because it's very much real time for me. I've just come off a vacation. I'm just now feeling much more like myself. And so if you've got a vacation coming up, I hope that you will take this into consideration and apply some of these tips so that you can make the most out of your vacation. Did you find this episode helpful? I would love for you to leave me a review on iTunes. Make sure to hit the subscribe button so that you never miss a new episode. And come hang out with me on social media for fun behind-the-scenes shots, free workouts, recipes, and a whole lot more. Just search ReadyFit, RETIFIT on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Snapchat. Thanks for being a loyal listener, and I'll see you back here in the next episode.